Welcome to podcast 43. Yes, 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 maybe, but yes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to podcast 43. My name is Fulton Collins, and I'm joined here today with
Chris Borg. Hey. So I guess before we start off with talking about our featured film today, Justin Lin's 2002 film Better Luck Tomorrow, we just want to say that we are part of the Scrolls on Cinema umbrella now, which doesn't really change anything, but we will be shouting out to their various projects and stuff. Full disclosure, some of them are my things, but it's a lot of short films, a lot of writings, so definitely be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, we're excited about the partnership. The only change you'll see is that on our little I guess our logo for the podcast, you'll see their logo too. You'll also have to start paying us $50 a month to be able to listen to our episodes. You can tip us if you want, but it's kind of like a mandatory tip thing. So that is also, I know I said you can tip us if you want, but it's a mandatory thing. But yeah, and we're gonna start renting out merch. So you can't buy the merch full out, but you can rent it. We're super excited about all these awesome changes that are coming.
And it's gonna be better for you, the listener.
Yeah. Because you have a connection to us financially as well as liking us as well. But let's shift gears. I think that's an appropriate transition.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears into our feature film, Justin Lin's Better Luck Tomorrow. Just I want to do a little introduction on the film. This is Justin Lin's directorial debut. It was picked up by Paramount, and MTV Films also helped out with it, or at least published it or distributed it, I should say. It has a lot of it's the introduction of Han Lu, which is Soon Kang, which is played by Soon Kang, who is a fan favorite character in the Fast and Furious franchise, which Justin Lin would later take on. He would take Han and put him in the Fast and Furious franchise, and they would both grow throughout those movies as well. But I kind of wanted to choose this movie because I wanted to see what Justin Lin would do just on his own without a franchise, because he's really only done, to my knowledge, he did this Annapolis with James Franco, and I believe Soon Kang was also in that one. I could be wrong. And then he did, I think it's called like Breaking the Game or Winning the Game, which is kind of like a love letter to Bruce Lee, if I remember correctly. And beyond that, which is another segue, he did Star Trek Beyond, and he's worked, like, he's the main director, I would say, for Fast and Furious, besides like I think like 4 of the films out of the 9 films that have been made. So I kind of wanted to see what a man removed from the franchises that he's been a part of would be like. So with that being said, Chris, what was your first impression of this film?
Well, I can say that I think that at the start, it kind of brought forth a lot of very interesting ideas as far as how it looks at what, maybe like even like the Asian experience of like what you people are expect of you, and how you're supposed to like get the best grades, you're supposed to make sure that you apply to the best schools, just do all this extracurricular stuff, and not really ever be able to like let loose. And I think that there are some parts at the beginning that highlight that, as well as like the kind of escapism that the 4 main characters face when they start kind of diving into crime, because the movie's about kids that are really like very top of the class in their high school in suburban California that end up becoming part of like a criminal operation, and it kind of continues from there. But there's this line that they say, our straight A's were our alibis and our passports to freedom. And it's like, kind of like they have to keep this facade of, we're still getting really good grades and we can kind of still do all this stuff that we want to do to let loose. And I think that's a pretty cool concept, but it kind of escalates super fast and it's kind of paced poorly. And then in the end, you're just kind of like left there just wondering, like, all right, so what's your angle? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I just we're I'm gonna get into spoilers just to say, the opening, it almost kind of opens like a I would say like a quirky indie film of the time. And you have shoot Perry Shin, who plays Ben, and you have Jason Toblin, who plays Virgil, and they're outside and they're like, man, it's hot. Virgil's like, it's hot, man, it's so hot. And Ben just like says nothing to him the whole time, and Virgil just keeps going on about how hot it is. And then they start hearing like a pager go off. They both check their pagers and they can't figure it out. And then so they go searching for the pager or the phone. I thought it was a pager, but I could be wrong. I don't know if pagers were still happening in 2002. um
I mean, if you're a drug dealer, yeah.
yeah. um and so they find this phone, or they go to find the phone, and they end up digging in the dirt and they find this and they find a phone. I honestly forgot that that was the opening of the film until we got to the ending of the film. But to go back to with what you're saying about how it escalated very quickly, um yeah, and I agree, it does escalate very quickly, and I think the pacing might be a little off, specifically like in the third act, because it seems like it, to me, I felt like I'm trying to gather my thoughts. I do like the line where by Ben, where he said that it was becoming too tiring to keep up the facade and also do all the activities that they were doing. And so really you see the fall of the friendship that happens. They start It all starts because they're selling like cheat sheets and stuff. And Roger Fan, who plays Derek, I think this
Derek, yeah.
Derek, yeah, who plays Derek. Um, he starts selling cheat sheets and asks Ben and Virgil to get in on it, and then you kind of get the sense that Han has been a part of it, for a while. So then they start like robbing people, or like robbing the school, and then they start selling, and it escalates to them selling drugs, and they're all kind of like using drugs in their own various like ways, and they're partying all the time. And Ben has a line where he just says that it becomes way too much to keep up the facade and to also do all the stuff that they were doing, and it becomes very tiring. And so through that kind of exploration of that kind of side of life, that extreme, their friendship kind of starts to fall. And I thought Virgil's character was interesting. I felt like I knew where Justin Lin was going to go with the character, because there's a scene early on where they're at a party, and Derek, there's like these frat boys, or varsity jocks, I should say, and they say some pretty like messed up stuff about Derek and his clique.
Yeah, they sound like he sounds like a complete doofus, though. Like, he doesn't
Yeah,
sound like a real person.
he doesn't, but it's not. Yeah, no, I agree. And then so him and Derek get in a fight, and then Derek ends up pulling out a gun on him, and then that kind of leads them into pushing more into that extreme side, and Virgil goes crazy about it. He loves that kind of sense of power that the gun holds over the varsity jocks, and that kind of starts to could you say it, infect his
Yeah.
personality. um and then that is kind of the breaking point, I think, or not. Well, there's another breaking point at the end, but I see that as the beginning of the ending for them. um I wanted to ask you what you thought about, because I always John Chu's character Steve. I was
John
kind of interested.
Cho.
John Cho, sorry.
Well, I really liked how So John Cho's character, Steve,
Mhm.
which his girlfriend Stephanie calls Steve-O on the phone. I thought that was pretty cool because I was like, yo, like jackass. But anyways, uh,
Another
sh
MTV related
I know MTV
connection.
but but the main character Ben, he really likes this girl Stephanie, and she is dating John Cho's character Steve, and I thought that he was probably my favorite part.
Mhm.
I would say I think John Cho is a good actor, very charismatic guy. You know, of big fan of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, of
Mhm.
course, and interesting that he's him and Justin Lin have been friends, you know, pretty much since the beginning of Justin Lin's career.
Mhm.
He was in his first film in '97, and then he was in Star Trek, which he directed Star Trek Beyond.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, he just kind of had this kind of he's just kind of like this dude that was just kind of charismatic, but also like has his own demons and his own problems.
Mhm.
I think he played the part the best out of them. I was
Mhm.
not a fan of Virgil. I will tell you that. I did not. I thought
I
he was
like his
annoying.
I like his character, but I wasn't crazy about the actor. And I think
Yeah.
I would go the same thing. I'd say the same thing about Ben too. I wasn't too crazy about him, but he didn't like break the film. But I will say the best thing that Virgil got to do was wear those baggy ass pants in that
Yeah.
one scene. Those are quite awesome.
What about the part with the gun when he was like when they go to the prostitute in Vegas?
Did they go to Vegas?
Yeah. Um
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. There's a scene in the later end of the film where they're at a party and Steve is drunk. I didn't know he
mhm.
was drunk until a character said he was drunk. I really didn't buy him as being very intoxicated. That was my only issue in throughout the whole through with John Cho's acting. But it's an early on role, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty lenient with it. But I just thought it was funny because they were like, oh my gosh, he's drunk, and I was like, oh oh he is.
Yeah, he is drunk. What?
I just thought he really doesn't have too much of a shift in but then again it's it's a directorial debut, and it all these actors are very young in their careers and everything. To highlight one more Fast and the Furious, or actually two more Fast and the Furious connections.
Oh, the line.
Well, I was going to say that. And also, Justin Lin has periodically taken a lot of these actors from Better Luck Tomorrow and kind of sprinkled them in throughout various roles in Fast and the Furious. And Chris, you'll be happy to know that Virgil, he will not be playing Virgil in Fast Nine, but he has a role in Fast Nine. So
Excellent.
I'll be keeping my eyes out for that. Yeah, but there's a, when they become successful at kind of their little under the table kind of activities. There's a line by Ben where he's like, yeah, we were living fast and furious. So I want to know if Justin Lin had been tapped to make Tokyo Drift yet, or if he was just a fan of Fast and the Furious and just kind of put that in there. um but I guess that could lead me into Han. I do kind of like Han's arc throughout this movie. Up until the ending, I wasn't too crazy on Han because I was like, he's still cool in Han's own way.
Yeah.
But I was like, he's kind of a dick. Because a lot of the characters treat Virgil like crap. Like they beat on him all the time and they're always making fun of him. And it's very clear, and it's his character goes through it a lot within the film where he's quite fragile. Um he's he talks big but is quite fragile, and I would say quite insecure. um and there's there are two times when he breaks down crying. It is sad, and as much as I may not have liked Virgil, I still do feel sympathetic towards him. And where was I going with that? Yeah, Han is Virgil's cousin, and he just dogs Virgil out all the time, often beating him up. But there is a shift near the end of the film, when you kind of have the fallout of their group, and everything is kind of falling apart, and everyone kind of quits the group, and Virgil becomes the leader of the organization with the cheat sheets and drugs and etc. And he starts talking a lot, boasting himself up, and he gets caught, and gets Han suspended. So the group falls apart, and then Steve asks them to help him rob his parents because it's a wake-up call. I kind of wanted to get into Steve's philosophy, if you wanted to talk about that for a second, because I thought that was kind of an interesting turning point for the film.
Yeah, let's do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I'll continue on with what goes on with Virgil. Did you want to kind of talk about Steve's philosophy?
Well, Steve, he tells them that he wants them to rob his parents. And I was kind of confused at what he meant by like a wake up call. Maybe it could have been like, did you think it was like because his parents didn't pay attention to him enough or something? Or
I kind of figured that because, and I get where you're coming from, because it's never like explicitly explained, and I think you kind of have to use your better judgment on it, because there is so much time spent at his house where like nobody else is present. It's just them hanging out there. And in the latter, in the in the later end of the film, I figured that's what it was, to like kind of like tell them that they need to be at the house more. They need to be more aware of what's happening at the house. So yeah, I figured it was kind of like that. There's a scene a little bit before, I think at the midway point of the film, where Steve and Ben are talking, and they're kind of hanging out, and Steve asks Ben if he's happy, and Ben says, oh, I don't know. And then Steve kind of goes on this little, he starts explaining to him that you have to constantly be breaking the cycle, I guess, to keep things interesting. Yeah, to keep things interesting. And so he seems like he's constantly like kind of pushing himself to do new things, and kind of uh, be excited. And so I guess that was kind of that was also like a little thing that kind of led him into wanting to do this, to kind of push the boundaries even more. And I guess experience something out of his wheelhouse. I don't know. But because he comes up to Ben and he's like, hey, we need to break the cycle again. And then that's kind of what leads them into like this whole master plan about robbing Steve's parents.
yeah, and it's like, so yeah, that's going on, and then they say, oh, we're gonna actually, like they think, oh, this is a line too far, like, this is messed up. We'd never, like, why does he want us to rob his parents? Like, and they kind of draw the line. They say like, well, we're gonna teach him a lesson. They turn it around on him, and that's when things kind of go awry, and then they start beating him up, and then like the gun that is kind of the gun that Virgil carries, that they bought it was for Ben's birthday earlier in the film. Steve, John Cho's character, grabs it, and then Ben, who also is very jealous of the fact that Steve is dating the girl that he likes, Stephanie, he beats him with a baseball bat and doesn't kill him, and then they suffocate him.
Yeah, that scene was pretty brutal. I like the execution of the scene, and I like I know it was kind of cheesy, but like the swirling camera.
Well, that is actually something I wanted to talk about, the cinematography. I think that the cinematography kind of bounces from kind of cool, in vogue music video cinematography from like the late 90s to the early 2000s to kind of like boring shots, kind of like shot reverse shot. And I kind of wish it went more with the music video cinematography. I think it would have worked a lot in its benefit, because it definitely was trying at it in some scenes.
It's an energetic film.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and I think that what you're talking about,
Like
the
that scene at the batting cages.
Yeah.
When the ball, and you do like the POV shots of the ball going towards John Cho's character. Yeah, but oh yeah, then also they bring up earlier in the film that Stephanie, the Ben's crush, she was in like a pornographic film, and then it's never really mentioned again. I was very confused about that.
There's the only thing that I can think of is that there's that one line where Stephanie and Ben are hanging out, and she's like, well, everyone seems to think I'm in this porno, and Ben's like, yeah, I've seen it. And then the conversation just kind of like ends after that. And she so I'm not sure if it I don't know, that was a weird little thing.
Also even weirder that they're like in high school too. Like that's like
why would you like if I don't know.
It was very weird. And her character, she kind of leaves a lot to be desired, I think. Like there's that whole conversation where Ben talks to her on the pier and he says, how do you feel about, do you ever want to meet your actual parents? Because she's adopted. And she's like, I don't know. I got to figure out like who I am. And then he's like, yeah, I get you. And then like, they really don't like, there's a lot to do with that. And that's what I mean is that I don't really think this movie really fully comes together. And at first I was thinking that they were going to go with more of an angle like the film Booksmart, which is a movie that I don't really like too much, but I think that the concept is interesting of, hey, these kids these are like, really high academic, like these people are really high academic or the film is about people that are very good academically, and then or there are other characters in Booksmart that are very good academically but also have like kind of a crazy side and stuff. And I do find that interesting because I mean, from my own experiences and stuff, like it's definitely not just like so clear cut where it's like some people are just have the drive to just do good in school, but also can just totally let loose and stuff. And this movie takes that at the beginning and then just kind of goes into a whole other direction. And I don't even know if that other direction is really warranted. And it just kind of feels like kind of a sleazy crime movie that I didn't really care for at the end, but it's still okay.
Yeah. No, I totally get where you're coming from with that. I think my issue is that I never found myself getting really hooked. Like I always felt like I was about to like really get into it, and then I just didn't, unfortunately. But I think it's an okay film. To just because we caught up and we're kind of at that you talked about the moment where they kill Steve, that significantly I would say deteriorates their friendship. I don't think anything could ever be the same after you and your friends have had to to murder somebody, but it significantly changes Virgil, and he ends up shooting himself, which and so the only reason I find it funny is the way that Han was brought to Virgil. Virgil tells Han that he found a new porno and that he wants somebody to watch it with or something. And so Han walks into the door and like knocks on the door, and then he hears the gunshot, and it's a very sad scene. But over this sad scene, you have been doing a narration over this porno that they were going to watch, and I just find that to be just interesting. I thought that was a little funny. Um, but you do see Han's character, not it's not a dramatic uh change for Han, but you see him being more protective over Virgil. And it's kind of explained throughout this one scene where Virgil, I think he survives or he's in a coma, but he's at the hospital and everyone comes to visit him, and Han is sitting right there next to Virgil.
Yeah.
And Derek comes in, and he basically makes a joke about him. I'm trying to think of what the politically correct term would be, but that he would be like a vegetable or something like that with the brain damage that he's incurred.
Mhm.
And Han tells him to get the hell out. He's like, get the fuck out before I like kill him or something. um and I also find Derek's character to be quite interesting because I can never really tell what angle he's trying to play, because he exploits Ben in the beginning,
Well, he's
but
a
then,
sociopath, but
yeah, like, yeah, no, I mean, completely. He exploits Ben in the beginning by saying that he's a token Asian basketball player, and he does a news write up on him and everything. And then that kind of leads to them having this weird tension between each other, and then he asks Ben to work for him and everything, and then that we've kind of explored the story from there. But
yeah.
I just find that there's a lot of interesting stuff in here, and I agree with you that I don't know if it really all does come together in a great way. But I do really enjoy watching directorial debuts because it's I have a lot more leniency with it because they're just kind of like putting their feet on the ground, you know. So
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty big for apparently this was the first movie that MTV ever like bought distribution for, because it was originally, because it was played at festivals and they were like, "Oh, we want this movie." That's a pretty big deal
Mhm.
for any director. I think that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And I guess I just wanted to highlight one other thing that I thought was pretty funny was when John Cho's character Steve tells Ben, the main character, that he wants him to take his girlfriend to prom.
Mhm.
Or is it a formal? It's a dance. It's some school dance, and because he doesn't like going to school functions, and so like then they're like kind of having a moment like slow dancing, and then it just turns into like techno music. And it's just really funny, unintentionally, or I don't know like what if it exactly was supposed to be.
I I get where you're coming from. I thought it was sweet that they kept dancing, but I cannot
Yeah.
imagine slow dancing to a hardcore like techno song from the early 2000s.
What if like
Um
funky shit by like
Oh my
the
god, that's the
Prodigy
monkey.
by the Prodigy starts playing?
I was listening to that song earlier. I
That
can't
was so
I
good.
keep listening to that album. I've been listening to that album a lot recently. Um there was something else I was gonna say, but I'm struggling to remember what. Oh yeah, just one thing to note: parents are never seen in this movie. It's a straight like teenage cast because I don't think a lot of them look very like their age, but that's kind of a running thing throughout Hollywood that it's rare that you get an actual teenager to play a teenager. I think now it's becoming better, but back then I would say, I don't know. Um, yeah, but Han's cool.
Yeah, Han is cool.
Mhm.
He's definitely cool.
I do wonder if we'll ever see him like. I doubt it. I was gonna say like you. Well, I wonder if we'll ever see him go back to like California, and like if we'll ever get an update on these characters. Not that I don't think we necessarily need it, but if it happened throughout some like Fast and Furious lore, that would be quite funny to me. That'd be quite cool.
And then they all drive off into the distance to Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that Han's gonna be back.
I know, man. I mean, we should have known because no characters in the Fast and the Furious truly stay dead.
Yeah, I wonder if Gal Gadot is gonna get back in on the action, Fast and Furious 10, or if she's actually dead.
Chris, don't ask for that. What am I? She's gonna show up at a barbecue scene. I mean, let's be honest, because the family comes to the barbecues. If Dom's
That's
a cook
true.
and the family's a coming, so
That's
you know,
family never dies.
family never dies. And the only reason I say that is because I've become such a self-proclaimed aficionado in the Fast and Furious franchise that when rewatching, because it's one of the staple COVID trailers that plays in every theater. Fast 9, you will definitely, it's like a 98% guarantee that you will see the Fast 9 trailer. I saw the cast of the Tokyo Drift films at a barbecue with Dom in the trailer. So we're going to see Country Guy again. You know, Han's coming back. I think I saw Bow Wow. Fingers
Let's
crossed.
go.
I don't know about Bow Wow, but I saw the country dude. And besides, he had a cameo in 7. I think that's the only other time he showed up. But that cameo is fantastic. I'm very excited to see that cameo again.
I'm glad.
You've only seen Fast 8, right? Or no, you've seen.
No, I've seen 6, 6, 7, 8, and
Okay.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay. All right.
But the 1 through 5 are, mark my words, by the time my ass is in that seat in the movie theater for Fast and Furious 9, I will have watched all.
Well,
9
Chris,
of them
I have some
before.
great news for you.
What?
So I can movie share or what the screen pass. I can screen pass you the whole franchise.
Did you buy it? Did you buy the box set?
I bought the box set, but only because after the 5th movie, so 6, 7, 8, or maybe the 5th movie does have an extended cut. So they would release extended cuts of the Fast and Furious franchise, but it would only be digitally through like Vudu and like and to buy the collection on Vudu or whatever, it was like $40. I was like, no, that's kind of stupid. So I bought it for 30. And I have a physical and all the, and all the digital copies, and they come with all the extended editions. So I'm quite pleased. And I'll just like buy, I don't know, because I was like, do I want to wait till the 11th film comes out? Like that's probably going to be like another I mean, God knows how long. I mean, they're only working on 2 more movies, but with COVID, I don't know how fast production is moving on stuff. But I digress. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. I mean, I was wondering if they were gonna do like a thing where like you could buy it and then they give you like kind of 2 like empty spots.
See, I know, man. It irks me a little bit because now I'm gonna have 2 stragglers out, or no, 3, I guess, because Fast 9. But I wish they kind of would do stuff like that, and then you could just like order the disc. I think that'd be really cool.
That's what they did with another Universal franchise, the Bourne films. I remember like you could buy, when Jason Bourne came out, you could buy it, and then they had like an empty spot for Jason Bourne.
See, that's smart. See, the thing that I'm debating right now, just a small little side note, is that the Indiana Jones 4K remasters are coming out. Early June, I think, and I really want to get it, but I know the 5th one's coming out like next year, and then so you guys, you're tuning into the collector's debate.
This is Patreon exclusive discussion. No, I mean, like, that's fair.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
I don't
know.
know. I don't.
I mean,
Uh,
I can tell you right there that my expectations for Indiana Jones 5 are so incredibly low that I wouldn't worry about it personally, but I don't know about how you feel.
yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of excited with Mads Mikkelsen. I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know how big his role is going to be. But let's we'll hop right into we'll do an ad break really quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, because I don't know how much people want. If you guys are interested in hearing about me and Chris talk about our collections and our struggles with our collections, please let us know. 'Cause me and Chris have talked for hours just talking about collection stuff. So let us know. I'd love to do that if that's something that y'all be interested in.
Yeah, if you really care.
Yeah. Sounds it's more of a section built for Reddit, I would say, but their takes on collections are very interesting too. But we'll take an ad break real quick. Okay, and we are back from that really quick ad break.
Yes.
Sorry, just writing that down.
So, to lead off news, I just wanted to say happy birthday to Clint Eastwood, who turns 91 today. You still got it, King. You're still one of the best directors currently working, and you have a movie, and he has a movie coming out in October.
It's so impressive, dude.
A lead role for a 91-year-old. Incredible. So happy birthday, Clint Eastwood, one of my favorite filmmakers.
Did you like The Mule?
I fucking love The Mule. Yeah, that movie
good.
rocks.
Yeah. All right. Rattle off these trailers really quick. We have Marvel's Eternals, which comes out in November. This is wait, Zoe Chow?
Chloe Zhao.
Chloe's okay, I'm sorry. Got that flipped around. Oops. Yeah.
That's her evil nemesis.
Sorry. She's making the Marvel Internals. It's a shitty joke, but I've already said it. So we have Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho, which comes out October 22nd, as Anya Taylor-Joy. No, wait.
Yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Okay. So that's coming out. I'm a little excited for that. But what are the other two movies? Jackass 4?
Yeah, so October 22nd.
It's a big day.
4 movies are coming out. You got The French Dispatch, Wes Anderson's latest film, One Night in Soho, Edgar Wright's latest film, Jackass 4, Jeff Tremaine's Jackass 4, and Clint Eastwood's Cry Macho. So I can already tell you, Fulton, you'll be moved in here. It's gonna be just Friday is just gonna be like we're just gonna be in the movie theater.
I'm perfectly fine to do that, dude. That sounds like a fucking marathon right there. That sounds fun. The Tomorrow War, which is Chris Pratt's new movie. We've kind of talked about this one a little bit, but they just released like an official trailer for it. That'll be out July 2nd. The Escape Room, which is the sequel to the first Escape Room, but it's called the Escape Room Tournament of Champions, will be out July 16th. M. Night Shyamalan's new film Old has had a new trailer come out. That'll be out July 23rd. I'm kind of excited about that one. I was talking to Chris about that before the show. And lastly, we have The Jungle Cruise, the new rock flick, and also Emily Blunt. That's her name. I couldn't think of her name. Disney has advised that you BYOB, bring your own blunt to this movie. Just kind of like a thing that they're trying to start with Jungle Cruise. That'll be out July 30th. And into the news, we have Warner Brothers. They're working on a League of Super Pets animated film, and apparently Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will be playing Crypto. So he seems to have good relationships with Warner Brothers to be doing Black Adam and also this. Yorgos Lanthimos has cast Mark Ruffalo and Gerard Carmichael in his new film The Poor Things. I just cannot remember if we talked about this last week or not, but just to say it again, just for security's sake, Henry Cavill is in talks to play the lead in a new Highlander reboot. which I hope they get Christopher Lambert to play Sean Connery's original role. That'd be very funny if they did that. Paul King, who previously did Paddington 1 and Paddington 2. In a weird turn of events, he's not working on Paddington 3, but he's making his Willy Wonka origin film with Timothy Chalamet to play Willy Wonka. So he is...
boy.
Man, Timothy's getting some roles. Bob Dylan, Wonka, you know, to branch off with him, but he's also working on Luca Guadagnino's new film Bones and All, which has just started principal photography in like Ohio or something, somewhere in the Midwest, I believe. And speaking of people that are just continuing on with various projects, speaking of Timothy Chalamet, but Adam Wingard, who just did Kong vs. Godzilla. He's also doing a Thundercats movie. He's also doing a Face Off sequel. He's also working on the next Monsterverse movie, but he's added another thing to his slate, and he's working on an adaptation of Robert Kirkman's comic book title Hardcore. So he's a busy man. Nikki Caro is working on a female-driven surfer film with Charlize Theron producing, which has been picked up by Netflix. There's no current title to the film at the moment. But speaking of big companies acquiring things, we have Amazon acquiring MGM for $8 billion. I think it was 8.2 or $8.3 billion.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a lot of money.
So just important to remember that MGM is kind of it's kind of not like how it used to be. Like as far as it wasn't, they stopped distributing movies, I believe, in 2010. And if let me just quickly check, but I think a fun fact about that is actually the last movie that they distributed was, and I'm going to check this, Hot Tub Time Machine. Yes. So that was, so then they have filed for bankruptcy. A lot have been kind of restructured, and they sold all their 84, 80, I don't know, some year in the 80 library to Turner, which then got bought or merged with Warner Brothers. So they own most of those movies, but they still own like United Artists, any of that other stuff, Canon Films, just a bunch of other weird odds and ends, Orion. So still a lot of movies, but it's kind of a weird company, and I don't really know. It's like it was like going to be bought by someone, and like I don't like Amazon as much as every other person, but who else? Like I guess I'd rather have them buy it than like Netflix. Disney or another company, like, because like I don't know, maybe it will bring more competition into the industry. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know how I feel about it. With the Bond films, were they still distributing those, or were they lending the rights out to?
So they still have, they do co-production with them. Like they would distribute them with Columbia, and then they would distribute them with they're distributing the newest one with Universal. And then Bond is also 50% owned by Eon Productions, which is, a family run company. So like they have say in them too. So there's a lot of players, but yeah.
To wrap up the kind of thing on Bond, there will still stay in the cinemas. It's not going to be like a streaming only type deal now. So I don't think many people were worried about that, but the creators came out and said that not to worry about it. So
I mean, Amazon releases movies in theaters. Like
they're kind of always have. And
they're a lot better with that stuff than like Netflix or something.
Which we might see a change with Netflix.
With Army of the Dead,
with Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of too early to tell. Tim J. Brown is working on a film called The Retirement Plan, which will have Nicolas Cage, Ron Perlman, and Ashley Greene. As long with they also announced more casting for that movie, but that movie is moving ahead. And in Evil Dead Rise, which will be the reboot of the Evil Dead franchise, it's being produced by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. I believe Sam Raimi. I would have to imagine that he it's hard to imagine that he wouldn't be a part of it in some kind of capacity. But it'll be coming out to HBO Max. But they already cast Alyssa Sutherland and Lily Sullivan to star in it, which I find interesting. Because I remember that they were trying to work on an Evil Dead sequel to the 2011. Was that 2011?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2011,
2011 Evil Dead.
which
But
was like more of a horror movie than it was more in line with the original film as opposed to like the direction that the films went in Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
Yeah. Which I heard that they were trying to connect the universes, that the Evil Dead universe was its own thing, and then the Evil Dead reboot was going to have its own universe, and then it was going to be like connected somehow. I don't know. It was all sounded interesting, but I don't remember if it ever got developed on. So I guess they're kind of, starting clean. But I like the TV show too as well. But Steven Spielberg has cast Gabriel Labelle. And apparently he's like a new fresh face for Hollywood, which I haven't looked into his credits, but I think it's cool that Steven Spielberg is using him. He's cast him in it doesn't have a title yet, but the movie that is about his own life, Steven Spielberg's own life, with I think Seth Rogen is in it, and another big name actor, but I can't remember who it was. Aaron Taylor Johnson is returning back to superhero movies. He will be playing Kraven the Hunter, and he has a movie set to come out about Kraven the Hunter. So Sony is really pushing their
solo movies.
Yeah. We'll see Morbius. I promise. It's coming. It's coming. I know the fan base is starving.
I mean, like, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, luckily is coming out too. So we're not too
left
far
in the dark. Yeah. And interesting. Well, actually, these last two little bits are quite interesting. Todd Phillips is apparently co-writing Joker 2, which I find to be.
Weren't they quite adamant about Joker being a standalone film?
They were.
Money talks, baby.
Yeah. If they're going to do it, my hope is that it will be like a spinoff and it won't really be a direct continuation, but everyone is calling it Joker 2. But this only gives me hope that they will make a third Joker film and they will use a 3 for the E. That's kind of the biggest thing that I'm getting out of this, that I'd love to see, because I that would be very funny if there was a Joker trilogy. Time will tell. Time will really tell. I cannot see Joaquin Phoenix returning to it. I do not see that happening. If he did, I'd be quite surprised.
Well, like I said, we already have other Joker movies with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. We have The Master, we have Irrational Man, so there's no need for a fourth.
It fits as its trilogy. And lastly, John Krasinski announced that Jeff Nichols is working on the next Quiet Place film, which is currently being called Part 3. And I saw A Quiet Place Part 2, and I'm excited to talk about it. And when we get to our new films, but
because Fulton and me both watched the wide release films this year or this week, so we'll be able to touch on both of them. So,
well, I was gonna hand it off to you because I'm interested to know, all this talk about Joker. Thinking we kind of need a female Joker. Maybe
That's
Cruella.
Right.
Maybe Cruella fit that shoe.
I mean, and I think in some ways, it does. In some ways, it doesn't, because Disney didn't want to go all in, and that's the issue. Was that so? Cruella, which I watched yesterday, is okay. The main reason why it's not good, but it's not like horrible, I guess I should say. The main reason why I wanted to watch it was because I like Craig Gillespie, the director, who he did Cruella, he did I, Tonya, and he did Lars and the Real Girl. and
I
I was
love I,
curious.
Tonya.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great
So I mean,
film.
I was curious to see, and I mean, the movie, it's shot very well. It looks decent. Odd, some of the weirdest music sound mixing I've seen in a film. Like
Mhm.
it's just like needle drop after needle drop after needle drop of songs. I was getting Suicide Squad
Oh.
flashbacks. Some of the stuff is super on point, and it's like it makes you kind of roll your eyes, like Sympathy for the Devil as the last track at the end. Ugh. Get me out of there. It's also it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is way too
Wow.
long. Paul Walter Hauser is my favorite part. I think
Mm.
he's a great
He played the
Brit.
body. Oh no, I was thinking of the bodyguard from I, Tonya, but I forget his name.
He was in I, Tonya.
Yeah. Oh, so that is
Yeah.
the same dude that you're talking about?
Yeah, the dude
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
So he was, he's good in this. One of my favorite up and coming actors, of course. Watch Richard Jewell if you haven't already.
He's trying to get a Chris Farley biopic. He's trying to
Ooh,
make it,
that would
but
be
I think
sick.
it's kind of hard. It's not going very well, but I hope he does make it. I'm in
I mean,
support of that.
and so yeah, with the whole Joker angle, I'm just gonna spoil something at the beginning with her origin story, if you don't mind, Fulton.
I do not think I want to watch this movie. I'm pretty
Um,
against a lot of what Disney is putting out right now, so this is kind of in line with that. Not to shit on any of the filmmakers or actors that are part of it. I think they should be doing new IP type stuff rather than, you know.
well, Cruella's mom gets killed by Dalmatians. They push her off of a cliff to her death. I know you guys can't watch the video right now, but Fulton is losing his shit right now at this this fact that I just told him.
That's awesome. That
Yeah,
is
that's
a
pretty
great way to link to, they say how could we get her to hate Dalmatians?
and that's the thing though, is that there's this dark story about Dalmatians killing her mom, and
Yeah.
and like all this guilt that she feels because she feels like she caused her mom's death and she becomes an orphan. And then they try to make her way too sympathetic instead of like this horrible psycho woman.
Yeah.
And they don't really go all in with her being as
Evil.
crazy as possible. You see that a little bit with Emma Stone's performance, and it seems like she turns it on and off. And there's a period in the movie where she's like acting very like mean and kind of posh to everyone, trying to create like this master plan to take down like the woman who like is responsible for her mother's death, played by Emma Thompson, who's like this big fashion designer. But then she turns back into like the sympathetic character, and it's like it's almost like they don't, I mean, like, yeah, this movie is definitely not made for me, like.
Yeah, and the same could be said for me.
So
You know.
and so I don't, like I said, I think the movie it looked good because Craig Gillespie is a good director, but I think that they really kind of dropped the ball as far as like trying to make this about a villain instead of like, oh, she's not actually all that bad. And then they never really, they just kind of hint at the skinning puppies thing at one part, and then they never really
My
carry that
thing
water.
is why doesn't she in the beginning, and you could still have it be as dark as someone losing their mother, but why don't you have her be like a victim of like a rabid dog, like a rabid dog, and she could I mean, I'm just saying she could have PTSD from that. I would find that more believable than her mom getting pushed off.
Oh yeah.
Because I was bit by a dog when I was a kid. It's scary. Like as a
Yeah, it
kid,
happens.
it's crazy, man. And
I know
I could,
so many people.
Yeah.
I guess one more thing that I thought was funny, and as far as Joker comparisons, is that
The trailer.
well, yes, the
It's like a
trailer.
1 by 1. Yeah.
So she puts on so her hair, she's born and her hair is half black, half white. And
Nice.
then her mom's like, or no, then she like dyes her hair and
Mhm.
stuff. And her real name is Estella. And then her mom says, don't let Cruella get the best of you. And she like does like kind of rebellious stuff. And
Mhm.
then later in the film, she's like, Estella is dead, but Cruella like but it's now Cruella, and like there's just like this whole thing, and it just reminded me of like, Murray, when you when you
Call me the
introduce me,
Joker.
call me Joker.
Oh man.
Definitely a
Well,
lot of girl bossifying in this movie, for sure.
mhm.
Uh, but the thing is that Disney needs to realize that we don't have to make a sympathetic character. We can
Yeah.
just make a good movie about a villain, and
The
people can.
character's good because she's so evil. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why she's
exactly.
iconic in the way that she is. And to kind of touch on her being iconic, I find this very funny that Disney banned her from having cigarettes in this live action thing.
Well, they have banned cigarettes in their films since I think
Yeah.
2007 was what I read. So,
Well,
but
I guess
skinning
it's not a
puppies
new
is
thing,
is
but
all right. Skinning puppies, fine. Smoking a cigarette, bad. All right.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, okay, so I guess that puts me on a quiet place duty now. So this one I'm going to give my review. Chris, do you care about spoilers?
oh, not really. I don't
Okay.
really care too much about A Quiet Place
Okay.
one. So,
That's fair. So I'm going to give my review and then I want to get into the spoilers because there's just something that I keep thinking about and it's so funny to me. And okay, I'm very neutral on this film. I like I I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think that John Krasinski knows how to build a pretty tensiony moment. And I think those are the best parts of the movie when you can feel the tension. And there's one point in the middle of the movie that I really got hooked on the movie, and then that kind of part of it is dropped. But I'll get into that in my kind of spoiler review, whatever you want to call it. If you like A Quiet Place one and you liked the quiet tensioniness, I don't know what else I would describe it as. You'll probably like this one. I couldn't imagine you uh we're okay. I'm gonna spoil it because it's so difficult to talk about this movie without spoiling it.
okay.
I'm so neutral in the film. There's a lot of things that I like, and there's a lot of things that I'm pretty iffy about. And so, my thing, you've seen A Quiet Place Part One, right?
I have. Yeah, I saw it when
Okay.
it came out.
So me and Chris are talking about this. It got praised a lot, and I agree. I like it as a movie. I don't know if it really changed the game in the way that a lot of people said that it did. But I
It was
mean,
massive though. Like it was really
yeah,
popular.
it was. But and I watched the first movie at home, which I am pretty much convinced now that that's probably the best way to watch it. And normally I'm an all theater experience type of dude. And if I would say if you want to see this movie, try to go at a time when you think you'll probably be alone in the movie theater. Because it is so beyond funny hearing people cough and snack on food during like a semi-silent film. Like when there's tension and you hear like somebody digging in M&Ms, it's so funny to me. And like hearing a sneeze during this movie was very funny to me, and I had a hard time concentrating. And so I can do that. So I think maybe if I watch this movie at home, I'd probably have a little bit better of an experience with it. But it's a good theater experience. I just think in terms of like when you have other people there, it's so funny. And then hearing other people's commentary like go like, oh my gosh, no way. Like that shit is so funny to me. So if you can turn that off, then you'll be fine with this movie. But other than that, but anyways, getting into the plot, the farther I got into this movie, the farther my kind of thoughts went with being like, I'm not sure if it completely needed to be made. Um, And the only reason I say that is because at the ending of the first movie, you kind of get the sense through the relationship built between the daughter and the father, John Krasinski's character, and I'm forgetting the girl's name, and I feel kind of bad about it. You kind of get the sense that she's probably going to step up because they have such a close relationship. They both like fought together to keep off the aliens and to kind of protect the family at at the farm that they were at. So you kind of get the feeling that she's going to step up. So in the sequel, I mean, she steps up, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what happens in the movie. Like there's not a whole, like, this feels like a TV episode in terms of like what was explored with the characters. And the reason I say that is because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there that feels like it should be developed further on. And I guess, there's a saying, leave them wanting more. I mean, I definitely kind of wanted more because there is more interesting stuff that was explored in this, but it's never fully, never really gets into it. And the unfortunate thing that with this trailer, with the trailer that they, showed to people, that's like the first 10 minutes of the movie. Right. So I don't necessarily hate that. I really like the scene where they're in the car and the bus is coming to them, and Emily Blunt has to put the car in reverse and drive away from it. I really like that. I do really like that scene. My issue comes with that. This is the sequel, and the opening shot is set before I guess the world has fallen to pieces, right? So the opening shot definitely feels like a scene that should have been in the first movie. And I know why they did it, because they wanted to introduce Cillian Murphy's character and his relation to the family. But he's not really developed on in this opening scene. They just kind of talk to him like a little bit, but it's just his character isn't really developed. Like there's all this stuff going on about Killian's relationship, because he's an imperfect character. He's a character that has suffered so much pain that he literally does not want to help anybody else. That's an interesting idea, and he does end up helping and doing what's good, but it doesn't feel too it just doesn't feel too built up, which is like it's unfortunate because I love Cillian Murphy or Cillian Murphy, sorry. I always want to say Cillian.
Sicilian Murphy is Italian.
The main thing with my thing with this is that the daughter, they end up meeting back up with Cillian Murphy, and they defend against the aliens and everything. And there's a nice little I'm sorry. So they have this shot at the beginning of the movie that introduces Cillian Murphy and his relationship to the family, and then it shows them surviving their initial experience with the aliens. But they hide the alien at first, but the audience already knows what the alien looks like because they've seen the first movie.
Yeah, you know what they look like.
Yeah, and then you see them, and then they fight them. The police officer fights them. So I just found it to be a little bit of an awkward opening because I feel like we've kind of already done this. And I like the scene. I'm not trying to shit on the scene. I'm just saying it's awkward in its placement of the franchise. And it does it hurt it, What were you gonna say?
So I think we talked about this a little bit before, but you said that you don't really because they already announced A Quiet Place 3, and we talked about Mike Nichols is going to direct it, and I don't know, do you really think that they can go any further with that?
Well, the issue is, like I said, this feels like a TV episode. So if this is the middle arc, it really hasn't done too much. That's where my issue lies with it being a trilogy. Because, and I mean, I like the movie. I think it's safe to say that I like the movie based like on an entertainment level. I mean, it's entertaining. It does what it needs to do. I'm just saying it's a very awkward kind of movie. And so the thing that the one thing that I really, really like that I really want to see more of, there's a midway section. Okay, sorry. So the daughter, the family meets back up with Cillian Murphy, and Cillian Murphy has a radio, and they switch to this station, and it's playing Beyond the Sea over and over and over again. And so Cillian Murphy's like, no, it's bullshit. It's like it plays all the time. And the daughter goes like, no, it's a message. It's a message. And there's an island off the coast of where they're at. And they're like, no, we have to go to this island. That, and so it's a message.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I find it to be so funny. Like, and okay, and then I'll kind of further explain why I find it to be just, it's so like weird to me. Okay, so long story short, Cillian Murphy and the daughter, they end up they go to find a boat so they can go to this island. While they're at these docks, they see this little girl, and her like skin is burnt, and it's like it looks very disformed, and her eyes are beet red. And Cillian Murphy, he leans down to like see if she's okay, and she puts this noose around him, and the noose is attached to all these bells, so he can't move. He can't move at all. And then all these people come out holding lanterns, and they all have the same kind of disformities, and their eyes are like blood red. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like maybe they got mutated by one of the aliens. Like maybe they killed one of the aliens and tried to eat them or something. And this is like what the effect is on the human body with the interaction with the aliens. And it is never explored. They end up getting out of the altercation, and it's never explored. And I was like, what? I was like, that's really interesting. Like that was really cool. Like it added something to the universe to make it universe. It added something to their current situation that made it way more dangerous than, I felt like it had actually built upon the foundation, which what the first with, past the first movie, right? It added a new threat. I thought that was, interesting. And I was interested to hear and see more about that. And so ultimately they do end up getting on a boat, and they go to this island, and it's true. It was a message.
It was a message.
It was a message to go beyond the sea. And my issue with that is the aliens they don't understand the human language. They can't tap in. They don't know how to turn on a radio.
They just know vibrations. And
they just know. I mean, they know sounds, but they're not going to hear beyond the sea and think, okay, let's go beyond the sea. So at this island, there's this community, and they have a radio station that they use. Why not say, hey, come to the island? We have a community and we're trying to build. But they just play Beyond the Sea. And there's a scene between the main dude there, and I forget his name. I do like the actor. And there's a conversation between him and Cillian Murphy, and the dude goes, so you got the message? I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Just say, come to the island. That is such... And then I was talking to my girlfriend and friend of the show, Graham. I was talking to them about it because I was trying to understand why. And my girlfriend Zoe said, well, maybe it was, because they don't want everyone coming. They just want, like certain types of people coming. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that could be an interesting idea, but it's never fully explained in the movie. See, in that interaction, in that conversation between Cillian Murphy and the other dude, it would have been really interesting if he was like, hey, did you like see a clan? Did you like see like a weird group of people out there? Like we were trying to avoid them. So that's why we had this weird way of going about, messaging or something. Like it would be interesting if like maybe, I mean, again, that wouldn't make a lot of sense, but it would give more like, I don't know, it would make a little bit more sense, but it still is kind of a weird way of going about like telling people to come here, come beyond the sea. So that's like a big part of the movie is getting to this island. So I have an issue with how they got to the island through the message of just replaying Beyond the Sea.
That does sound kind of lazy.
Yeah, I don't know. And so the movie just kind of, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil the ending. I already talked about a lot, but I don't know. So I'm very mixed in terms of I just don't know how to feel about it. It's entertaining. I mean, I don't regret that I saw it. I just hope that with the third movie, and that's a lot to ask of Jeff Nichols, if he can kind of um if he can kind of build upon and kind of make the other ones a little bit. I mean, I like the first movie too. I don't really have a lot of issues with the first movie, but if he can make the second one make a little bit more sense, and also provide a good ending. But I mean, Jeff Nichols, from the movies that I've seen him do, he's kind of a very an ambiguous filmmaker, I would say, with
Yeah,
the ending of
watched Take Shelter last week, and
Mhm.
I can agree. I'm not
So
kind of lukewarm on that one.
yeah, I don't know if he's going to be the guy that's going to provide answers, which I think that if this franchise wants to continue to grow, I think it kind of needs it. But it's doing extremely well. Like,
Yeah,
it's doing very, very well in terms of like COVID and Memorial Day weekend kind of box office stuff. I mean, the film's doing fantastic. I don't, I just like, I have my own kind of issues with it, but I am excited to see where John Krasinski will go from here. If he's going to stay, if he's going to keep doing horror. I think it's interesting for him to be doing horror, giving his background. Or if he's going to, do other stuff. I mean, I like John Krasinski. I I think what I want to hear is I want to hear the audio commentary for this movie because I want to see what he was trying to do with it. Because if I just want to know what he was trying to do with it. That might help me kind of figure out how I feel about it. But you're talking about months. I don't know if I will watch the audio commentary.
yeah.
Because I'll have to buy it.
You have to buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll never say never, I guess.
So, is there anything else you wanted to talk about that you saw?
Yeah, there actually is one. Well, I saw Fast Five. I don't think I can say too much more than what I've already said in the past few weeks, but this is another solid one. Um, I watched Cat People, the original Cat People, and I just thought I'd kind of bring it up because I know that you've seen the original and the remake.
Yeah, I
And
like
I've
Cat People.
Yeah, just throwing this out there. I thought I'd put it in our sequel crew list, but The Curse of the Cat People. I think I added it to the sequel crew list for a potential coverage and a
Very nice.
yeah.
Also, another one that I wanted to add, Carrie 2, The Rage. Carrie 2.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Here, I'll add that right now. I added Flintstones Viva La Vegas.
Viva Rock Vegas.
Viva La, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so what did you think about it? I think it's kind of interesting because it's quite a chaste film.
Mm-hmm.
Since it was made in the 30s, and so they couldn't really do anything with it. And so then watching that and juxtaposing it with Schrader's remake, which is just and it's just the most horny movie ever. Chaste is not a word that it knows. is kind of interesting because like the whole thing is like in the first movie, it's like I can't kiss anyone or else I'll become a cat person.
Mm.
And then in Schrader's one, it's I can't have sex with anyone or else I'll turn into a cat person. So interesting what Schrader wanted to do with it.
I'll be honest, I kind of wanted to watch the original so I could watch the remake because I'm very interested in the remake. I love the cinematography. What were you gonna say?
I like the remake more too. I think I enjoy it more, but they're both good.
Mm-hmm.
Simone is a very good actress.
Mm-hmm. She comes back for the sequel.
Yeah,
somehow.
Yeah, she does.
Like the whole cast, I think, comes back. For Curse of the Cat People. I do really enjoy films where the whole thing is like, are they or are they not crazy? Because I love In the Mouth of Madness, and I would say I'd kind of put this one in that for like the first 2/3 of the movie. That's kind of like the bulk. That's the kind of like the bulk of a lot of the drama in it. I love the cinematography. I will
Yeah.
be honest, I've heard a lot about the pool scene, and I was a little underwhelmed when I saw it.
Oh, really? I
I
thought
felt
that
like
I thought it was
mm,
very. I thought it was very tense. I thought it was a good exercise in tension.
yeah.
The
Mhm.
pool scene in the remake is feels kind of unearned compared to the original, in my
Mhm.
opinion. So I'll have to hear your thoughts about when you watch that one.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to talk about it. Yeah, I don't know. I feel okay with this movie. I don't think I'm too crazy, but I do appreciate it. I'd say I probably appreciate it more than most films that I would deem okay.
Okay.
Because I do like it, but I don't think I'm too crazy about it. But
Well, I
yeah.
watched. I actually went back to the theater this week, but
Hmm.
not to see. Well, to see something new, but not a new feature film, a new short film
Hmm.
that they've been doing. It depends on what movie, but Sony Pictures Classics is released Pedro Almodovar's latest short film, The Human Voice, with Tilda Swinton. It's about a 30-minute short. They're doing a
Hmm.
double bill with Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, his 1988 comedy,
Hmm.
and that was a great time in the theater because they're both kind of thematically similar. The Human Voice is just Tilda Swinton like monologuing, and it feels very much like a stage play.
Hmm.
She just kind of has AirPods in and is going crazy about a man. And Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown is also about a woman going crazy about a man, and so
Hmm.
they kind of complement each other well in that way. But Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown is also hilarious. I describe it in my review as a telenovela on steroids because it's just so insane. Like everything that's going on, you get to see a young Antonio Banderas in one of his first
Nice.
movies.
Hmm.
But yeah, so definitely if this movie is in your area, yeah, definitely check it out.
Antonio Banderas, famously known for Spy Kids, correct?
Famously known for
Nothing
Spy Kid.
else.
Nothing else at all.
I need to see
And
Mask of Zorro. Sorry.
I need to watch. I haven't seen any of those Zorro movies
Yeah,
actually.
I'm
I heard Mask of
interested.
Zorro is not very good though. Like most people seem to
Oh,
not like that one, but they like the first one a lot, it seems.
well.
Uh and I watched The Jesus Rolls.
Mm. Everyone's most highly anticipated spinoff.
People really don't talk about how John Turturro has directed like 5 things.
Mhm.
like I mean he did that Woody Allen riff that had Woody Allen in it, Fading Gigolo,
Mhm.
that I never saw, but
Wait, does Woody Allen play Gigolo?
maybe I think John Turturro plays the Gigolo, but Woody Allen does star in the movie.
If it was Woody Allen as a gigolo, I'd watch it in a heartbeat. That'd be very funny.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's yeah, he John Turturro is the Gigolo,
I mean,
sadly.
yeah. Okay. Well.
But the Jesus Rolls is very bad. It's quite bad.
Mm.
It's a remake of the French film from the 70s, Going Places, for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looks horrible. The color grading is all out of whack, and it's not funny at all. Audrey Tautou, I don't know why, but she gets on my nerves in this movie.
Mm.
You have a lot of interesting cameos, from Susan Sarandon to Pete Davidson to John
Pete
Hamm to
Davidson is in this one?
yep, to Christopher Walken.
Wow. Jeff
Uh,
Bridges, John
Jeff,
Goodman, Steve Buscemi.
they were not touching this with a 10-foot pole, and neither were the Coen brothers. It's
Yeah.
honestly a miracle that this thing actually came out, like that he just kept pining for the rights to this
I mean,
character
he's been
for
trying
his
to make it
standalone movie.
forever, hasn't he?
Yeah, pretty much like
Yeah.
yeah, it's been like yeah, pretty much since I think like the early 2000s or something.
Mhm.
It's very bad. 85 minutes feels like an eternity. And I guess I'll knock out the Woody Allen film that I watched this week,
Mhm.
Stardust Memories, now on HBO Max. They switched out the Woody films. So now that Purple Rose of Cairo is on HBO Max now, so everybody should please watch that. The movie is a masterpiece. Stardust Memories is kind of his take on a Fellini movie like 8.5, and it's just he plays the filmmaker, and he wants to make serious movies instead of comedies. And Woody Allen was like, this movie isn't autobiographical at all. Like, and it totally is, because it's his follow-up movie to Manhattan. So this came out in 1980. Manhattan came out in 79, and then before that it was Interiors, which is just like a straight up drama starring Diane Keaton, in 78, and then the year before that was Annie Hall in 1977. And of course Annie Hall marked a shift of the films that Allen decided to make, and kind of went in more of a drama direction as opposed to like straight up comedies like the earlier ones like Love and Death and Bananas and Sleeper. So I think this is kind of a response to those critics of like, I want to make movies that understand like the seriousness of things, of life, and like kind of answer these questions or pose these questions about the human existence. And it's shot in beautiful black and white. Yeah, so if you like Fellini, which clearly Alan does a lot, then yeah, Stardust Memories.
I'm just gonna throw in one more movie quickly. I watched Resident Evil Degeneration, which is the first CGI Resident Evil movie. I will say this: if you are a fan of the video games and how kind of fun and ridiculousness and ridiculous that they are, I think you'll kind of like this. I will say it was fun. I know, Chris, I think you had your doubts when I told you I bought the collection of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you showed me that gunfight scene, which was pretty cool, though.
It was pretty sick. Yeah. Check out no, it's not Wesker. Maybe it is Wesker. There's a fight scene between Chris and and like another agent, and it's so funny. I mean, they're fun, and I was surprised at the CGI. It hasn't aged amazingly, but it was better than I was expecting. But yeah, no, it's fun. It's like, I think it would make for a fun game as well. But they're pretty over the top, pretty fun. If, like I said, if you're a fan of the video games, and you kind of like that era of like Resident Evil 4 and 5 and stuff like that, I think this would be kind of like right up your alley. And it's surprisingly not that I think it's like an hour and 35 minutes or something like that, but it doesn't feel very long at all. It's pretty quick. But yeah,
very nice.
Just thought I'd throw that in there because I think me and you have talked about Resident Evil before on the podcast, but not to like too greatly.
Quite a few times.
Yeah, it comes up a surprising amount of times.
And I guess last thing I want to talk about is Olivier Assayas's Irma Vep, which just got a nice restoration from Criterion last month, and it's a movie about movies, and I think it's kind of a very meta film. It's a very meta film about the French film industry and kind of where it was in 1996. And I don't want to give much away other than, Jean-Pierre Léaud, great, like always. And most people, most of my friends will know that like he's one of my favorite actors. Love Masculine Feminine, and he's great in this too. And Maggie Cheung kind of as this fish out of water kind of actress that's acting in a French film and kind of dealing with all this production stuff. It's very personal film for Assayas as a French film director, and I think that a lot of movies about movies I have a lot of qualms with because they kind of get into masturbatory territory, like Mank or something. But I think that this kind of does a really good job of not getting in that territory.
Yeah, I get you. Would you compare it to Scream 3?
A movie that I love. I couldn't even finish Scream 3. I think I like
I've yet to
started
see
that
it.
thing and I was like, I'm out. I saw Jay and Silent Bob and I was like, all right, well, that part was cool, but now I don't have any other interest in watching it.
I was gonna do a cold open about Jane Silent Bob, but I completely forgot about it until you just said something about that.
Really?
Yeah, I like the first Scream. The second one, I was like,
Yeah, that movie's not good either. I don't like the second one. Yeah.
But I want to know what the original script was. Did you hear about that? The
No.
script.
Did they
This-
mess? Did Miramax / Harvey Weinstein like mess with it?
During they were like halfway through shooting the whole film, and the script got leaked online, and they didn't want for the film to be spoiled, so they rewrote the third act.
Ooh.
So that's why I want to know what the original was like. Because my issue kind of comes with the third act, if I remember, but it's been so long since I've seen that movie. I saw Scream 4. I thought it was okay when I was a kid, but I really can't speak on it too much.
Well,
But yeah.
I think that is all we have to say. But thank you for listening. And our movie for next week will be Ramin Bahrani's The White Tiger from this year / last year, which is, it's one of those movies that it says 2020 or 2021, but it is a Indian film, Indian production. Netflix released it here, and yeah, it looks like pretty interesting story. All right. Well,
All right.
yeah, that was a pause. I was waiting.
No, you're right. You're all good. Alrighty. Well, thank you again for listening, and stay safe
And stay wavy, yeah.